Alright, so in this video we're going to talk about how to make a three-plane sheet metal part, and a lot of people struggle with this because the sheet metal tools let you just create flanges and you have to adjust the angles. I'm going to show you my process to be able to get these three different surfaces to essentially come together and make a sheet metal part, and what I would consider a more advanced approach. So these are pickup points from a transmission engine bracket, and I'm going to pull my scan in here. So I'm actually using a program called GeoMagic to manipulate these scans so that I can draw these circles and put planes on them, but that's kind of beside the point of what we're trying to show here. I'm just kind of trying to show I'm making this transmission bracket, and we moved this hole down actually half an inch for what we needed. So I'm going to go ahead and hide that. So now I want to show how we're going to draw this sheet metal part, because this can be pretty tough because we're at some pretty advanced angles here. So the way I'm going to approach this is actually with a 3D sketch. So I'm actually going to draw the entire three-faced sheet metal part with a 3D sketch, and then we'll use surfaces to rebuild it into a sheet metal part. So I'm going to start with a 3D sketch, and I'm going to start drawing on the surface that I want to draw first. So for example, I can click right here, and if this is highlighted, when I click this line, it'll actually drop it on that line. Even though I'm in a 3D, you can see it's working on that plane because I clicked on that when I clicked on the line. So I'm just going to kind of draw something out. This will look a little bit rough in the beginning, but it'll make sense once it comes together. So there's that, and then let's go ahead and now we'll click this surface. I want to keep it on the outside, so let me go here and hit line, and we're going to kind of connect this surface, just kind of drawing like a square shape. Okay, and then let's do the outside of the last surface. Okay, so obviously this is not what our part's going to look like, but we're starting to like kind of morph what we're going to do with it. So let's go ahead and start kind of connecting the dots. So I'm going to actually try to connect these two. Let's kind of merge that. And then let's see if we can merge these together. Nope, doesn't want to. Sometimes you just gotta kind of drag them over top of each other. So I'd say this is the hardest part, is getting the 3D sketch to do what you want. Sometimes it'll make sense what you're doing, but then SolidWorks doesn't like it, and you just have to kind of draw it a different way. So you can kind of see I'm like starting to draw this sheet metal part here. Okay, so you can kind of picture what's happening. There's a bend right here, right? And then I'm going to go ahead and, how do I want to connect this one? This one's kind of a little funky. So maybe we'll do, do we need a double bend? Let's see, how are we going to connect this? This is the part you spend most of the time, is just looking at it and seeing like, how am I going to make this become what I want it to? So I could put a bend in this and then come and hit the back of it, or I could put a bend in the top and make it connect with the side here. I'm actually going to pull up the scan so I can kind of see how this interlays. So it looks like the factory bracket actually kind of kicks backwards a little bit. So I'm actually going to add another bend in here to make this a little bit cleaner. So let's go back here. So I'm just going to make some room for another portion of a bend to come in. And we'll just kind of connect the dots. Okay, but we have to be careful there because I added that in, but you can see the lines are not I got a little lucky there. They're not perfectly parallel. So we need to make sure that this structure right here is a flat planar surface. So I could just pick a dot and go to a line. And I'm just going to make it parallel to this one. So this is just going to force this this line to be in perfect planar. We're just going to make sure that these are as if I drew it on a plane, even though we're in a 3D sketch. So now you can see I added that bend in there. And now you can kind of see this sheet metal part, which is kind of cool because, like, how would you draw this in any other format without doing it with this method? I'm sure there's a way. I'm sure people have some really cool things to do, but this is just how I approach it, and I think it's very effective. So one thing I like here is that it's a strong bracket. It's got what we need to attach our shifter cable on the bracket. It does kind of have some dead space over here. So let me pull up my scan again. Take a look, make sure we're not interfering with anything. Oh yeah, we're good. That's actually underneath the original bracket, so we're not going to have any issues there. One thing I do see a problem with is we're coming to a point here, and when we go to bend this on the press brake, we're going to end up with a situation where this corner starts to like flare out. So I would like to fix that. So the way I'm going to do that is let's just make a little bit of a modification here. Let's let's go here and then here. And then we could do some trimming here. Okay, so now we kind of made like an actual edge that we can bend to, which is pretty cool. So kind of the same situation here, but let's see how I can modify this. Let's try to do like this, which is really what I should have drawn in the first place. Okay, so I'm just making sure I have like room for the press brake die to actually hit. We're still planar. No, actually it created an issue right there. You can see how that's not planar anymore. So if I look down, that is not a 2D plane. You can kind of see it kicks off. It's like, how would that be a flat section? So we just need to really make sure that we're drawing some flat sections in here. So let's go back here. And how can we resolve this? Just going to think about, let's see, this kind of kicked off to the side. Let's just draw like a line from here, and we'll go to here, and then what we'll do is we'll just like make it parallel here. I'm just using construction lines to like force this thing to be straight. There we go. Now it's gonna be planar. You can see it's in line. So you kind of just have to do what you got to do to get it flat. I'm sure there's a million different methods you could do to make sure that that's the case. And then obviously 3D sketches, it takes practice itself to kind of navigate. Sometimes you gotta lock things to move it around and then unlock it. So I'm just gonna make this perpendicular. I'm just trying to make sure I have a really good easy edge to make a press brake bend on, and drag this down a little bit. Okay, cool, we're getting there. Just gotta drag this back out. Oh. Alright. Gonna clean this up, make this parallel. Great. And then obviously we made a mistake here. Gonna see if we can pull this down. Alright, now we're getting closer. Yeah, just lock that. This is more of the, just learning to work with 3D sketches can be really tricky. just gonna make this look a little bit better. Let's make this perpendicular right here. Good. I do want to kind of drag this out some. Okay. So now I need to still correct this situation. Let's go here. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. It's kind of like, well, sometimes things just move in the 3D sketches and you can't really account for it. You just gotta play with it till you get what you want. Okay, great. That is starting to look really good. Cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what makes this really cool. So I'm going to, let's go ahead and hide all these so we just have our lines here. And now we have like what our sheet metal part is going to look like. And it's really important. The first thing I'm going to do before I start doing anything is just, I'm going to inspect to make sure each one of these 3D planes is actually flat, like it's planar. Because that's the hard part, right? So that's 2, that's 3. How's this bottom one look? It looks good. Okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new 3D sketch, and I'm going to convert my first plane. So I'm going to convert this, hit check, and I'm going to go to surfaces. Oh, need to exit my 3D sketch. I'm going to go to surfaces, and I'm going to hit, oops, I actually made a mistake myself. I'm going to go back and delete the 3D sketch. I need to actually create a surface. I missed a step there. I'm going to then draw on it. I'm sorry, not a surface, a plane. So here's the plane, and then when I exit this, I can go back to surfaces and I can hit planar surface. That's really important. We want planar surface. That means it's going to create a surface that's perfectly flat. So there's our first surface. I'm going to then create a new plane. So just click 2 of these lines so that I have a plane going through there. And convert entities. I have to do this one sheet metal section at a time. So planar surface, great. Let's do the next one, do another plane. Trying not to use keyboard shortcuts like I normally do, just so you guys can see what I'm clicking. Planar surface, great, and then we got one more to do. Convert, and then planar surface. Okay, great. Now I can hide my original 3D. So this is our surface of this body. So now these are individual surfaces. I'm going to go to knit surface, and I do not need to have either one of these checked, and click all 4 surfaces. Hit check, and now it combines it into one surface, which is pretty cool. So then we're going to use, this part is pretty cool. This is where it gets really powerful. Is I can go to sheet metal, and just from these surfaces, I can click convert to sheet metal, and I can start converting this thing. I want this to be 0.1 thick is what I'm making out of stainless. And the die, based on the library on our website, is 0.0775 for the inside radius. And I'm going to make my K factor 0.42 to follow the website as well. Hit check. And then we have our part. Pretty crazy, because that would be a pretty tough part to do in other format, in my opinion. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and cut those holes through. Just going to go through and create 3 new sketches with these holes so I can cut them through. Alright, now I can hide those. I'm going to bring my sheet metal body back up, and then we can cut these one at a time. Alright, so there it is. And then I'm going to go ahead. Now the one thing I'm a little bit worried about is pretty close to the hole there. I know what this is for though, so I'm not like super concerned. Even if it flares out, I can grind it a little bit. But that's something to keep account for, is that when you get these holes really close to the bends, you're probably going to see this thing flare up. Actually, it will flare up, I'm sure. But because of what I'm using this for, I know it's okay. It's not a big deal. It's not worth me going through and making another bend here to keep this plane surface. I can definitely make it work. It's not the precision part that we need. So let's take a look there. Now we got a bracket in there. It looks pretty awesome. So that worked out great. One of the things I'm going to do is just go ahead and clean it up. Now it looks nice. I don't have any clearance issues, it looks like. Is anything hitting? Nope, that's clearing. That's clearing. I know that there's a little spring here that it's hard to, you can't see it in the scan, but I'm going to put a little hole right there. So let me go back and add that little hole. It's just to hold a little spring in place for the kick down cable. Just going to make it 0.2 so I can easily hook it on there. I'm just going to put that like right there. Not super critical, it's just for a spring. Alright, now to clean this thing up, I'm going to go and add some fillets. So let's go around. Fillets definitely make a big difference on the appearance of the part. And just also making sure they're nice, clean, nothing sharp. Now let's go to 1/4 inch. Press apply. And there we go. We have a ready to go part. Pretty cool. I'm not exactly sure how you would do this without doing the 3D method. This part would be extremely hard to draw if you're just trying to block. And once again, the reason why this hole is off is because I actually needed to modify the original bracket and move this shifter cable a 1/2 inch down. So I was able to, I made that whole position modification before I started. But pretty cool. This is a fairly complex piece that honestly would be really tough in other words. And I can kind of see here I might have some interference issues with the nut, but I'm actually okay with that. The reason why is this nut that came on the factory is huge for some reason, so I'm actually have one that's way smaller, and I'm going to put the bolt in from the bottom. So I should be totally okay with the clearance. Actually, let's see, is there anything I can do to help with that clearance space? I'm actually going to go ahead, it wouldn't hurt if I slotted this. This has actually helped me with making sure everything is aligned correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm just going to add an 1/8 inch slot to it. This will help me, I've got quite a bit of play on this part, so this will actually help me get that bolt in here nicely. This part is not under a lot of stress. It's a very simple part that's going to be simply just holding a shifter cable. So there we go. That's our part. So hope you enjoyed this. If you have some questions, let us know. And this is definitely a more advanced method of sheet metal drawing for some pretty abstract angles when you need to. And this has been a pretty big game changer for me when I figured this out. So okay, all right, thank you.